not only am I Dave Schrader, but I'm Dave Schrader of Travel Channel's The Holzer Files, and you're listening to Ghost Host Sophia Temperilli on liveparanormal.com. I feel left out. I wanted to throw myself into your mix of voiceovers now.
I love it. It's almost like we didn't leave break.
Today we welcome executive producer and co-host of Travel Channel's Ghost Nation series, Steve Gonsalves. We all know Steve as TAP's team leader on Ghost Hunters, Ghost Hunters Academy, Ghost Hunters Live, and co-founder of TAP's Paramag. I want to thank Travel Channel for making today's interview possible. And watch Ghost Nation on the Travel Channel Fridays, 9 p.m. Eastern. Everyone visit Instagram, Steve Gonsalves, the Travel Channel official, Twitter at Steve Gonsalves1, and hashtag Ghost Nation. Let's welcome him into the show.
Hello. Hi. How's it going?
Hey. Thank you so much for coming on today, Steve.
Are you kidding me? Of course. My pleasure.
First off, congratulations on Ghost Nation. It's so awesome that you guys are back on TV. I'm sure it's incredible, to go out and investigate again and share it with the world.
Awesome, to be honest. We never stopped investigating. So we were still investigating, but we didn't have cameras, following us on all of them. So that is, a change now, back to that. But it's been fantastic.
How did it all come about for you guys to come together and actually create Ghost Nation and go back out there and, share what you capture with, such a large audience?
Yeah, we had our other work, a previous show, and when that sort of stopped, when we decided to not continue that adventure there, we took a few years, and we had different television show offers and different opportunities individually and some of us together, that sort of thing. But Jason, Tango, and I, we knew we wanted to stay together if we could. So we sort of just said, hey, let's ride this out for a few years until we have the opportunity to do a TV show all together again. And that's what we did. And we came up with a concept and sat down with networks and pitched a few to them. And Travel Channel, when we met up with them, what they told us and the conversations we had, we knew right away that we found our home, and they're just fantastic, and that's literally how that came about. We set up, we're very, very fortunate to be in a position that we can, get the ears of some, people in that regard. So that's what we did.
Well, it's amazing to see all three of you on air again. What's it like, coming from a show that ran so long, such as Ghost Hunters, and, starting into a new show? What about this feels different, and, how is your approach different this time around?
That's a good question. This time the format is slightly different, and that's more television talk than investigator talk, but for that regard, in terms of that, we are having teams around the country are calling us to come in because they're sort of at a crossroads with their case, and they don't know quite where to turn or what to do next. So we come in, we don't take the case over from them, but we work with them and come to resolution for their client. And, we're focusing on families and people that actually need help. So you'll see a lot of private residences and things like that. Not that we're against, asylums and prisons. We'll most certainly do those, but there would have to be a reason for us. No longer are we just trying to, Ghost Hunters became the chase for the best piece of evidence, and it became the, let's find evidence so everyone can believe ghosts exist, that sort of thing, which is great and super fun. But we sort of lost the light of actually helping people. So as investigators with this show, we said, let's really turn the focus there and not stop until we do help them. And that's what we're doing. And as an investigator, our approach is much different in terms of our techniques. They're honed, and we spent a lot of time, I spent a lot of time diving into particle physics and really figuring out how energy can interact with the physical world, and keeping that in my brain while I investigate has helped quite a bit We have accumulated quite a lot of new gadgetry, some that isn't available yet, which is quite exciting. But the most, important. Yeah, we have some really, really cool stuff. You'll see them in some upcoming episodes. We have a sensor that we use that in one episode we connected it to a Civil War sword, and it created an electromagnetic barrier around the sword. So anything that comes into that barrier will alert us, and wait until you see what happens with that. It was so cool that I actually bought the sword. I couldn't let it just stay. I said, that has to be mine. If there's a ghost with that thing, it's coming with me. And it was pretty awesome. But as an investigator, Travel Channel and we partnered with the production company called Ping Pong Productions, and Josh Gates is one of our executive producers. All of that together has allowed us to do the investigation exactly how we wanted to, so that's much different in this regard. With ghost hunters, if we wanted to get some cadaver dogs, some ground penetrating radar, or a physicist, there's all kinds of hoops and red tape and yeses and nos, and are you sure that's the right thing you want, and a whole big rigmarole, so much so that it usually ends up not happening because it takes too long. Whereas this, we say, we need an electrician now, and a Travel Channel and Ping Pong goes, okay, you'll have it in 2 hours, or you'll have it tomorrow, and that has been fantastic. And allowing us to do the research has been incredibly helpful for our cases. We always did some research, but it wasn't like this. We do research until we are bleeding at our fingertips and our eyes are coming out of our head to get answers. So a long answer to a short question, that's pretty much what we're doing different.
Yeah, and I know in your last episode, actually, you helped the family by kind of disproving some of the beliefs they had regarding the deaths that actually happened in the house. They believed someone had died falling down the stairs, and you were able to, kind of help them see that their house was active, but not in the way that they felt it was initially when you guys first came in, just by the research that you've done.
Absolutely. 100%. It's a lot of the phenomena that was happening in that house, they did have legitimate phenomena happening, 100%. But what ended up happening is that same phenomena where, say you're looking for a new car and you have your eyes set, I'm going to make something up on a Subaru Outback. All of a sudden now you're seeing 40 Subaru Outbacks a day when you don't remember seeing one, before for the previous months or whatever. So they may have one or two legitimate things happening in their house, but now they're on edge, they're in fight or flight mode, so everything is a ghost now. She tripped on the stairs, she attributes it to the ghost because she thinks somebody died there. You know what I mean? So clearing up that information for them is quite helpful. But the client also has to be gracious about it, because if you see that woman, when I explained that to her, she was like, oh my goodness, thanks so much. I need to look into that. Where some people would be like, you're an a-hole. I'm not crazy. I know what happened. I know something tripped me, but she was very kind and gracious and took it the right way and said, okay, maybe this is legitimate what's happening. If I do trip on the stairs again, let me put some real thought into it and see what's happening. So that really helped her quite a bit, and on previous work, we leave cases and we don't know really what happened and what's that, but on this show, it sounds cliche, but it's very personal. And when we leave the case, the difference, like, I don't know if you saw our first episode with Corey and his wife, but when we got there, they were like beaten and downtrodden and scared, and like she was crying and didn't know what to do. And by the time we left, they were happy and excited, and we still get messages from them. And just recently he said, guys, I don't have to live in the RV outside anymore. Like, I'm in the house. I'm living in the house. My kids aren't scared. Like, they're so excited. And it's such a good feeling that, I'm not sure we really have been able to, not that, it's a selfish motivation, that, feels good, so you want to do it. But realistically, we hadn't really, gotten that sort of fulfillment from investigating with our prior work, except for before television. But since television until now, it's been this is quite a rewarding project.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about too, whether you're helping families or just trying to, prove the existence of ghosts, is there is so much you have to uncover. The history, what's actually happening at a location, people's personal experience, and be able to separate fact from fiction, because there is pareidolia, there is, overanalyzation to the point where you think you find something, and no matter what you're doing in the field, you have to be able to kind of take a step back and look and say, is this really happening? Is it not? There could be tons of activity, but also, a small part of it is not actually real. It's either a leaky faucet or, something that you trip and you think that it correlates with something that happened in the home. And so it's really just about finding that happy medium in your own headspace to where you can look at it from an objective standpoint.
Absolutely. That's a great point. 100% right. And that objectiveness is what you need to have. Because if you're misinterpreting or exaggerating, or even, who knows, maybe even making things up, if you're doing any of that, you're not doing a service to anybody. You're not helping the field. You're not helping the client. You're not helping your own research. And I'm not a skeptic because I don't have an agenda, right? I don't care if you believe or you don't believe. I just want the truth. So I'm a skeptically minded investigator, but not a skeptic because I have no agenda. You can tell me all day long you don't believe in ghosts or any sort of paranormal phenomena, and it doesn't bother me so much. You don't have to believe in it. But, having that skeptically minded, sort of protocol while you investigate is quite valuable.
I 100% agree. I'm the same way. You have to go into an investigation being able to, skeptically see what's actually happening. But, if someone doesn't believe, I personally can agree with them. I believe in the paranormal, but it's very hard to believe unless you experience it yourself. So if someone says it's not real, that's fine because, it is so hard to imagine that there is something else out there unless you actually have seen it firsthand.
100%. Absolutely. That exact sentiment is what I tell people all the time. You cannot be angry or upset or sad or whatever emotion you would have because someone else doesn't believe in the paranormal, because it's such a fantastic thing to believe. There is no person on planet Earth I love more dearly than Dave Tango or Jason Hall. Dave is my closest friend on planet Earth, and even if he comes up to me and says, Steve, this shadow just came out of the room and came at me. Okay, Dave, I don't think for a second he would ever lie to me, but I need to see that for myself, because that is such a fantastic thing that your brain just says, impossible. There's no way that can happen. I need to see it for myself. And you can't blame anybody for having that stance. You just can't. So I think skeptics are welcome in the field, and I enjoy working with and opposite of skeptics. I like the way you think. You're a very sharp gal, I tell you what.
Thank you. And that's what's so important too about investigating as a group, and I'm sure with your bond too, you already have that trust built up. And when you go into an investigation, when you investigate together, you have that validation at the same time. So if someone does see a shadow figure and you may be looking in the same direction, you can say, oh no, I saw it from my perspective, that was really a car going by. Or you can be like, no, I saw that too. That is completely, out of the ordinary for this place.
Absolutely. 100%. That's one of the reasons we don't like to investigate alone, just to corroborate. We do sometimes. We do, and you saw in last night's episode, Tango was running around on his own. We do that sometimes, but only if there's a camera operator, because then there's someone else to corroborate or to, and so, people will say to us, you guys have a thing where you always say you don't investigate alone, but I saw Tango in this room by himself. It's like, well, the fact you can see him should probably tell you he's not alone, because there's a camera guy there with him. So I don't know. So it's a funny thing to play with, but you don't want to. And then there's it's also good to have another investigator, because there's that phenomena of telephonic and audiophonic sounds. Where earlier pioneers like William G. Roll and Lloyd Auerbach, and they, telephonic and audiophonic sounds in places with heightened energy levels is a real phenomena where I can hear sounds and see images that a person standing right next to me may not. And it has nothing to do with psychic or medium. It has everything to do with synapses in the brain. It's a very scientific phenomena, but that can happen. So you need to sort of guard yourself against that and all kinds of things. There's so many things in our eyes, and everything can mess with us. And, you need to have somebody else there with you to sort of bounce things off of.
Yeah, for sure. And we're talking a little bit about investigating as a group in Ghost Nation, but what initially piqued your interest in the field of the paranormal? Did you have an experience, or was it just seeing shows like Sightings back in the day that, really made you interested?
Oh, well, I did love Sightings. Oh, man. Good, yeah. Sightings, and do you remember Encounters? That show was pretty awesome. But my I'm much older than you. I'm twice your age, so I stem back even before those shows. That was more my sort of teenage years, and I got interested early on. I was probably 6 years old, maybe. I remember seeing a movie called The Entity. I shouldn't have been watching it, and it really freaked me out. And I saw at the end it said based on true events or whatever. I remember just being maybe old enough to read. I don't know, but I was very young. To the point that I started crying, and my mom had to calm me down and the whole thing. But that's what sort of stemmed my interest. I said, people do this, And then by, I think, at 9 years old, I had read Lloyd Auerbach's, the ESP and Poltergeist, the best book ever written about the paranormal. That guy is a genius. Lloyd and William G. Roll are sort of my two, they are, and Mr. Zaffis, but those guys, you read their stuff, and that's what I started doing, reading those books, and of course, Mr. Hans Holzer and all that stuff. But reading those books by 9, 10 years old, and then by 11 and 12, I was going to see the Warrens talk and going to my mom would drop me off, and I'd go see them talk and lecture and watch their videos. And then by I think I was 17, 18, I had the opportunity to go to Union Graveyard with Ed and Lorraine Warren, and that was awesome. Investigated there, and then I started working with them a little bit, and that's how I met John Zaffis. People think I met John Zaffis through like our TV show or whatever, but I've known John since I was 16, 17 years old. And then I formed my own team called New England Paranormal. That was in the early. I was excited. That was in the 90s. Gosh. And then I joined forces with Jay. This was before it was TAPS. It was called Rhode Island Paranormal, and that's how that all came down. Yeah, but my interest started kind of from that movie, I'd say. I mean, I don't want to pinpoint to a movie, but that's kind of my first memory of being like, holy cow, look at that. And of course, Ghostbusters. I mean, that's my favorite movie of all time. I think everybody, and it's easy to poke fun at that movie and be like, clowns. But I mean, that movie has some pretty legitimate methodology and even some terminology behind it, but all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I actually recently hosted a panel at the Ghostbusters Fan Fest, and, they were saying that a lot of the movie was really based on actual, ghost experiences. Harold Ramis had an interest in, the spiritual side of life, and, Dan Aykroyd really had an interest in also, ghosts and everything. So they really took it from that standpoint, but since they were comedians, they had to, throw their own flair into it.
Absolutely. I mean, Dan Aykroyd, his father was a very intense paranormal investigator, and very much believed in ghosts. That his father would hold seances at his house to communicate with the dead, and Dan Aykroyd would be a little fellow, peeking in on that, like, what's going on in here? What the heck? And he turned it into a script and that sort of thing. And of course, comedians, you're right, had to put some fun into it, but. All of that stuff does stem from some reality. You can make fun of ectoplasm all you want, but in the paranormal world, it is supposedly a legitimate phenomenon. I've never seen it or can't figure out what it could possibly be, so I'm not sure it exists. But, their PKE, all that stuff, that's just EMF for us, all that kind of stuff. So there is some rooted there. Even Poltergeist, that movie, there's some, it's obviously crazy and blown out of proportion, and none of that stuff would really ever happen.
Yeah.
But the way the investigators approach it, their methodology, they're very calm, very much scientific, looking into things. They set up a center command. That's kind of rooted in some true. I mean, William G. Roll, that's him. That's his book. So there is some, root there, some connection, some tie, some lineage to real world paranormal investigating. This new stuff of, The Conjuring, all that, fun, and entertaining, but is completely not rooted in anything factual. So the funny and kind of goofy movies are, which is silly, right?
Yeah, and I believe the Poltergeist, too, is actually based on a true story of houses being built on a cemetery unknowingly, and people started experiencing activity. So it's kind of like that saying, every, fable or legend, there's some piece of truth, no matter how small, is actually embedded within it.
Absolutely. You're 100% right. And I had a very fortunate experience. I did a lecture series at the Rhine Research Center in Carolina. And Dr. William G. Roll was there, and we spent a week together and studied energy, and he taught me so much, and he talked a lot about Poltergeist in the book and the research he did and how it was skewed for movie and what really happened and what didn't. But he did bring up the fact of graveyards and houses being buried over burial mounds and that sort of thing, and how he did believe that was a catalyst for not most, but some hauntings and that sort of thing. Very, very, very fascinating. And that was one of the, in terms of the paranormal, my road as an investigator, one of the best experiences of my life, spending a week with him, studying energy and the paranormal. Is really mind-blowing to think about.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to see, the people who really started it and started so many people's interests, kind of pass away. But it's great to see, their legacies carried on through, interviews and stories and TV shows. So it's amazing to see that. But I know we're coming towards the end of the show. I know you have somewhere to be, but are there any websites, upcoming interviews, or events that you would like to mention?
Yeah, I mean, they can catch me on all the social medias. If they miss an episode of Ghost Nation, they can check it on the Travel Channel Go app. And thanks to everybody. It's 10 p.m. And 9 p.m. Central, Friday nights, Ghost Nation on the Travel Channel. Other than that, events, I have Plymouth, Massachusetts coming up next week on the 24th. And then I'll be in Saginaw, Michigan with my buddy Steve Shippey for the premiere of his new film, which I'm in for a little bit. And that'll be, I think, the weekend of the 16th in November. That'll be a lot of fun. He's a great guy, and I have a lot of fun working with him. And I have a book coming out, and a documentary myself will be out in 2020 at some point. So that's about it. Thank you for the... for allowing me to talk about upcoming projects. Very nice of you. I'd like to be able to plug what we're up to. So it's quite nice of you. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today. The show is always open to you if you would have anything you'd like to promote. And yeah, thank you so much for coming on. It's been great talking to you.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And I hope your Saturday is awesome.
Thanks. You too. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.
Steve was such a great guest. I want to thank everyone for listening. The show definitely would not be possible without all of you, and I will talk to you guys again next week with the cast of the new show Destination Fear on Travel Channel.
This is author Alexandra Holzer, and you're listening to Ghost Host Sophia Temperilli.
Hi, this is Jeff Belanger, host of 30 Odd Minutes, founder of GhostVillage.com, and author of lots of your favorite paranormal books, and you're listening to the Ghost Host Sophia on LiveParanormal.com. Boo!
Hey, this is Zach Bagans from Ghost Adventures, and you are listening to the Ghost Host Sophia Temperilli on LiveParanormal.com.
The Ghost Host Sophia Temperilli. 8 years of broadcasting on LiveParanormal.com. Congratulations, Sophia.